Okay. I think we are probably, everybody's here now. I'm going through the list. I think we are missing a lot of people from the original list that I had. I can see some very familiar names, people I work with all the time. Some people actually know how to use Tableau already better than I do. so this is going to be a little bit of a challenge. Okay, so is there any questions that anybody wants to ask before I kind of like go through the overview of Tableau and how to access it and how to use it? Okay. Let me go very quickly through my presentation. I don't want to really spend too much time because we can make this available to everybody, so we don't need to go through this again. But again, I mean, the technology that we have today to visualize data is really amazing. I mean, it's not just Tableau, it's happening everywhere. I think it's going to make our day-to-day work a lot easier. I mean, the challenge has been all these years to put all this data that we've been collecting into action. And I think finally we have the tools, and we want to make sure that all the staff has access to these tools, and they can they use it on the regular basis. Again, IT really gives you the power. I mean, Tableau gives you the power to do the work yourself. So you don't really have to, you don't need to work with IT directly to work with the data, but you can actually do it yourself. And that really, it's not just that you can do it yourself, it's that you can actually do the whole thing, from the data collection, the data transformation, the data analysis, and the data communication. And I think that's really what makes a big difference using these business intelligence tools today. So there's always strengths and weaknesses on each tool, but really I think Tableau is very easy to use. It really is drag and drop. You can start working with data right away. You can easily connect to data. You can integrate it with multiple data sets and formats. Once you start understanding, I think you have more control that what you can do. But you can actually integrate multiple different formats. You can connect maps with graphs and tables and charts. It can be live data, so you know that data is current and useful. And you can even connect to the data in open data portals, like CNRA has an open data portal. At the Waterworks, we use data.ca.gov, but you can connect those data sets and build the visualizations that are already public information. You can do the ETL. It is a Tableau Prep. It's actually a very advanced tools where you can do all kinds of transformations, pivoting the data like from wide to long format. But again, what I really like about our approach to using Tableau on the server is that you can share your work, internal and with the public, and we can collaborate with each other. I'm working on a project right now for the drinking water program, which requires a multiple staff doing multiple things, and I think it's a great platform to actually promote innovation and collaborate with the work that we're all doing. It is limited in a way that if you want to do very complex geospatial calculations, it's challenging. I think there's a lot of things I'm learning myself, the things you can actually do, but it's not like ArcGIS. ArcGIS is still going to be the tool to use when you really do want to do some kind of very complex geospatial calculations. And it has a lot of statistical tools that you can apply, and you can integrate it with R. But R, again, is a statistical analysis tool that is much better than Tableau in that sense. So what do we have? We have at the Waterboards, we have the Explorer that is on the web. It's a web link that I can share with you. And also we have some creator licenses. We had 15, and I think we're getting another 15 in the next week. So if anybody thinks that they need an additional desktop license, I may be able to allocate those 15 new licenses that we have. This is very similar. This is the link that you can use to go to the Tableau server, Tableau in waterboards.ca.gov, and this is only available and accessible to the internal waterboard staff. We also have an external server where we can actually share the our visualizations with the public. So when you start using data, we connect to the data, we do the ETL, the extract, transform, a load, we build our visualization, and then we publish and share it. And I mean, there's also the Tableau prep compared to Tableau compared to Power BI, is that some of the graphics are not as sharp as Power BI. Again, these are many examples of how to communicate information and how to put the data together. These are the examples of something I built myself. And again, this is the link to our public site. Here's some instructions on how to access the Tableau server. We have a quick start guide. And if you want, you will need to start working on the Tableau server. I can create a project for you where you can do all the work. You can have your own data sets. You can create your own visualizations, and you will be the administrator of that site, where basically you can manage. You can create permissions. You can basically set up who can see or work with your visualizations, and you have full control, basically. So the way it works, we have a home page where it shows some information. The navigation is pretty simple once you get familiarized with it. And instead of going through the presentation, which will be good for you to look at it, why don't we just go and show you directly how it works. Let's see if I can find the website. Here it is. So this is the internal waterboards site. This is the first thing you're going to see in the home screen. I typically go through the Explore, and I set it up to see the view as a list view, because I think it's easier to navigate the server. If I go to the grid view, it looks like this, and it's not. I think it's more confusing. But if anybody wants to, anybody within the waterboards wants to follow along, just type this. Yes, I'm going to put this on the chat, so people can actually, people within the waterboards can access that server, and you may want to follow along. You can do that yourself. So again, as I was mentioning before, we have these set up into three groups. One project is the data sources, where you can find data for your own program. Like if you have all the water rights data in there, and this is updated daily. As you can see, this was updated yesterday at 11 o'clock. So at 11 o'clock today will be updated again. So when you build something connecting to this data set, you know it's the most up-to-date data. And also, and it's similar, we're doing similar things for all the other programs. If you belong to one of the organizations of the Water Board, so we have one for each division, office, and regional board. For example, I'm in OIMA, and I have my own test site. And here I have control over all the projects and work that I've been doing. And I can set up permissions. Probably you can see what I have. All the other staff at the water boards can see the work I'm doing, or the examples that I'm working on. But I think it's a great opportunity to share information and data.
Rafa, can you, I just had a question about the data sources folder that you were showing at first,
sure.
and these files that you're showing now. does somebody wanting to create a visualization always have to start with the data sources, or will there be data sources under the programs folder that you were also
Okay,
sharing?
so what I can do is actually I can start a visualization to see how we'll connect to data sources. So I have this project, it's called training. And so you can see this and you can go and say new, and then you can create a workbook from there directly. If you are a creator, you will see this. You will see on this side files or connectors. If you are what is called an explorer, which everybody is an explorer license, you will only see these data sets. Like if then you can actually just connect to prop one data. You can only connect to data sets that are already been published. I mean, there's a lot of them. We are trying to cover all the programs and existing data sets that we have at the water boards. This is like the inventory of data sets. Some of them are very complex, but the idea is that all the stuff is using the same data with the same format. So we don't have multiple versions of the data. Like for example, if I connect to Pro One data, I have the data directly accessible to me, and I can start working with it right away. Let me just close this because what I wanted to do, it really is to create a workbook with the list of attendees today at this training. I thought it was actually interesting to do something with that data right away. So we can put the first name, we have the last name, we have the organization that they belong to. Okay, so here we have, and then we have actually the breakout rooms that that you want to be part of. And so we have here the breakout room for Power BI and the breakout room of Tableau, which I don't think we have that many people attending, but here are the names. We can do a lot of things with this. We can start, like, say, maybe how many people total we have. So we have, we can change this to the measure, to the count. So we have 49 attendees. I think there is approval status. I think we have one person that is being canceled. So let's just use that as a filter, and then just select only the approved ones will be counted. Then we have 48 people. And then we may want to say, so we want to put them in the breakout rooms. So we have 22 and 26. And say, well, this is an interesting table, but what I want to show is kind of like, I want to see like a graph. So I can just come here and say, show me, put this graph there. And I want to move this. This is, if you are familiar with pivot tables, this is very similar to pivot tables in many different ways. That you can just move things, you can pivot the data from columns to rows and make it look like that. There's a lot of things we can do with it. We want to see the numbers that on each one of those bar graphs. We can just move the control and move that into the label. And now we're showing, you're seeing the numbers on top. We can also change use the colors of the graph. So we have the Power BI and Tableau users together. What else can we do with this? So we can have them by organization. But when you look at the organizations that we have participating, you look at the names, they are very inconsistent. You know, they are all over the place. There was no control vocabulary for that. So what we can do is we can create groups. Can go to create groups, and then we say, well, I'm going to select all these people I know are the water boards. It's going to take me a little bit. It's always risky, but I'm going to create right here on the fly. the people who I think are the water board staff. Okay, and then I group them, and I'm going to call these water boards. What I'm doing really, I'm transforming the data on the fly, and I'm going to all these others, and these I'm gonna create another group. And these are all the attendees today that are outside the water boards. Now, what is interesting about that, if I go back to this bar graph and I use these groups, now I have two graphs, one showing they're outside the water boards and within the water boards. So now you can see that we have 21 attendees from the water boards and 5 outside the water board. I think this was interesting for me today, and as a way of describing the data. And again, you can there's a lot of things with you. If I move this to the afterwards, so now is grouping really the information by water boards and outside the water boards instead of before that it was Tableau and Power BI. So with a very simple move of these builds, as they're called, you can actually start working, making sense, better sense out of the data. Now, Nate, okay, I've done this. I have this beautiful table, and I have this beautiful chart, this one. So what do I do with that? Now I can create a dashboard where I can start moving my objects to this dashboard. And one of the things which is very cool, and you can do with it, is to make these a way of creating filters. Just by saying use as a filter, and when I click on this on the bar chart that says 5, now it's going to show me the 5 people who are outside the water boards that are here with us today. And here are the 21 people that are today in this presentation within the water boards. Now I can publish this. I'm going to call it test 2. And one of the things you can do is that when you go to the workbook, is that, and you have this dashboard that I just created. So now you can change things, you can move things around, you can work with it. I could have done a lot of more things to it, but now what I can do is actually share with anybody at the water boards, so they can actually. I can directly share that with them, and they will get a message about, I can say, check this out. Okay. You can also share, you can just copy the link and send the link in an email on any way you want it. If you want to publish this on internally, you can also copy the embed code, and then you can use that embed code to embed that visualization in any intranet side of the water boards. And this is kind of like a simple way of getting some data and making sense out of it. So now everybody in the group can actually go and navigate to this visualization that I just built. And one of the things we can do is control who can actually see these visualizations with these permissions. Click on these 3 dots over here, and then you can set up the permissions for that. Basically, I can just say, well, you can view it, you can edit it, you can copy, you can overwrite it, you can download it, you can erase it. I mean, there's a lot of control you have over what other people can actually do with that data. I'm going to make everything available to you in case anybody wants to, continue the work and make it better. But again, I think that's one of the great advantages of having this data, having the Tableau server where we can all collaborate with multiple projects using the same data sources. I mean, again, one of the challenges that we had from the beginning of the water boards was really to be able to access that data in a format that we can start working with it right away. So if anybody's interested in really working with Tableau on the server, or if they think they need the desktop version of Tableau, I mean, we can always try to work with you to make sure that you have all the tools that you need to do your work.
Rafa, I had was wondering if maybe you could you shared that visualization that you just created. If I didn't want to ruin yours, but wanted to try to add something to it, how would I make a copy of that, or how would I progress it and still preserve what you made?
Okay, you can, I mean, you can just here, you can download it, or you can edit right here if you have this box. I know that we have some problem with permissions. I'm working with that right now, but in theory, you should be able to just click edit workbook and start editing right away, because the permissions are set up for that.
But otherwise, I download it if I didn't want to do your changes to your original. I would download it.
Yeah, you can download it. If you have Tableau Desktop, then you can edit it on Tableau Desktop yourself.
But if I didn't have Tableau Desktop, I just had the Explorer license, then
you will do it clicking here, Edit Workbook. In the Edit Workbook, it should show that you can actually edit it.
Okay, thank you.
Again, the navigation is intuitive once you get familiar with it. It's the same as when you work on, like, let's go back to editing that workbook, for example. Once you do this, you can bring spatial files, like if we had the regional boards data in there, or the water sets, or polygons, or multipoints. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do with that data. You can bring it from multiple sources. But here, for example, you can just add another data set, and I can bring the algae bloom report from cyanobacteria and connect to that, and it will just you just sign in, and then we are connecting now to one of the servers that we have at the water boards. It makes no sense. I'm going to remove this. I'm just going to use the algae bloom now. You can now, I'm connecting two data sets. So I have the table of the regional boards and the table of the algae bloom, and I can update the data, and it's linking by regional board. And then when I start working with that data set, it's not. I can now look at. I mean, you had to know something about the data that you're working with. To tell you the truth, I never worked with this data myself before, but here you can start looking at the data yourself. Okay. Yeah, this data, it has problem with latitude and longitude, because it's not correctly formatted. Let me try something else. Let's just create a completed. We create just one from scratch. Let's do, for example, SSO. You can search, connect to the data, and then in here we should have the latitude and longitude.
If I don't have a creator license like you were talking about, so I can't
Anybody
publish
can
data source, what should I do?
Anybody can do what I'm doing right now.
Because this is a published data source?
Because it's a published data source, correct. Spill ID, I'm gonna put this in the details. So now you can see that there's a lot of this data, it has problems with it because the latitude and longitude, they have the latitude as positive number, so it should maybe negative number. But this is a way of starting looking at the data and seeing these issues that we have. No, there's a lot of ways to correct it. You can create a formula that says if the latitude is positive, change it to multiply by -1. But again, you can start looking at the information that way and work with it. I normally, to go through this, it takes me more than an hour to go through examples and how to work with this data. But again, there's many ways you can actually start looking at the information and organize it by date. Like you just want to show the spills from multiple range of dates, for example. And you can show the filter, and then you can just like move these filters, showing the different with the spills that were between these 2 days. So again, it's very powerful tool. You can probably, if you can envision it, you can actually build it. But for me, really, the key is that very quickly you can start producing maps that can be very sophisticated. There's a lot of training material available on the web, a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of things that you can actually explore on your own. And there's always, I'm always here to help if anybody needs assistance or help on how to access the data, or how to transform the data, or how to work with the data. I can work with you directly. We can also publish the data sets that you need. If there's a data set that you need to be on the server so you can work with it, we can also make that, we can also publish that anybody with a creator license can actually publish the data for others to use. I think we have 3 minutes left, so if there's any questions, I can always share my presentation with you in case there's a lot of additional references on how to, some examples of the visualizations. And again, all these visualizations are accessible to you. You can copy, you can continue the work, and that's really the point of having Tableau Server, so we can all work together and collaborate. Any questions? Do we have any questions on the chat?
There were a couple about the differences between the creator and the explorer, and I tried to address them. But
okay,
check them out.
Yeah, a creator we have 15 creator licenses, and with creator you can install a Tableau desktop and Tableau prep on your computer. Otherwise, you had to use the web application, which is what I was showing you today.
So anything created on the server can be shared with anybody in the water boards, like even somebody who doesn't, like, is not a data user?
Yeah. So if like, for example, this data that we were using for the attendees, we can make it available to either everybody, or we can control who can actually access it. So you can set up the permissions. If there is data that you want to keep it to only certain staff, you can always do that as well. Okay, I think we are closing the breakout room in 30 seconds. But anyway, any questions, please contact me. I'll be happy to help.
Thank you, Rafa.
Thank you.
Rafa.